everyone. Today we're taking a look at the German King Tiger. So this is Tamiya built from 1993, I believe. At least that's what the copyright symbol says. So it's 1/35th scale, part of the miniature series number 164. It's very good quality for 1993 kind of standard. Even now in 2020, this still feels, you know, a really good build, solid build. Obviously not quite as good as the modern ones, but mostly the model has no problem at all. I think it's really hit the sweet spot in terms of price and the quality. So it's a lot nicer and cheaper than the new models, but this one is a very good one. Compare with even other brands such as Hobby Boss or Trumpeter from more than 5 years ago. Their models are not even as good as this King Tiger, in my opinion. The build quality. Now I'm talking like generically what I think. So there are specific cases which obviously are not true, but in the main sense, as you see, the quality of the build is fantastic. There's not so much flash on the plastic. Um, and the instruction menu and so on are exactly what you would expect from Tamiya. So you can see right now we have the sprue for the wheels and the sprockets and everything. So you have two of these. One thing I would say that they could do a little bit better, improve on. Tamiya, they they engraved the sprue kit, whether it's A or B or C, in a very small corner, in a small fashion. So if you look at what other brands does, like Meng or you call it Ming or whatever, they have a very big sign that says popping out from the plastic, sticking out. That says if it's sprue A or sprue B. So that's much easier for me to see. Now, if Tamiya kits end up having more than 4 sprues or 5 or more, I tend to use a masking tape and tape it on one of the edges and write with a clearly visible pen, whether if it's A or B. The rear panel that we're looking at right now, it's printed in a very good quality, So compared with other brands, you might have to even fit those little parts on it with glue. But with Tamiya, you're not expecting so many parts, so it's already printed on the mold already, on the plastic. And if you've used Tamiya kits from the 90s till now, or maybe even 80s, the quality of the plastic is very nice. It's probably the best out there. And this is the decal sheet. As you can see, you have a choice of what you want. Now, because I custom build my models for my clients, um, he wanted to have it in a specific way. And we're gonna see the sort of yellow and red camouflage paint, um, camo pattern, I would say, and with the red knight decal on it. So that's not the usual one you see on a Tiger 2, but it will look very good. Okay, I promise you on that. So this is the instruction menu if you want to take a look. Now the best thing about Tamiya is that they're so good with their instruction menus. They do a very clear job of what you have to do. There's almost like no time where I feel, gosh, where do I do this? How do I do that? Whereas if I use another brand, I'm not gonna mention the name, but I think you might know, the cheaper brands out there. Sometimes you don't even know where you can put the wheels. It is frustrating sometimes, and sometimes you have to look 2 or 3 steps in advance. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to understand. Oh, how comes that part is in this illustration painting, this drawing, but not in the previous one? How did it just suddenly pop on? So a lot of the drawings are not so clear, but Tamiya does an excellent job at it. That's why every beginner modeler should use it. So if we look at it, Here it tells you even the exact Tamiya paint you want to use to paint those specific part, which is very handy, really. Um, Very nice to know what paint you want to do. You can put onto specific parts. And overall, the book is the booklet is very short. Um, and the tracks, oh my God, compared to the old tracks from the 70s, you no longer need to melt the tracks. If for those of you who don't know, the rubber, well, plastic, I would say, tracks, and now, well, the ones from uh, you know, the last 2, 3 decades, you glue them on. Before, you have to melt it using a hot screwdriver or something, a flat screwdriver. It's ridiculous. I broke so many tracks just by doing that. So it's nice that they've done it in a better way for the last few decades. So you get what you pay for, essentially. The older the model kit, the worse the quality, but the cheaper. So it is usually. So this one hits the sweet spot between the price and I think the quality. You can see that there's not really much of an interior of the tank. You do get the ammo racks you can put on, but there is no ammo, so you can buy that I think as aftermarket parts. And the different camo painting schemes they tell you. And right now I'm pointing at the way Tamiya teaches you how to make antenna. Now, because I deliver my products via the uh, Hermes or Royal Mail, I can't really, well, when I box them, I can't keep the antennas on because the antenna will be broken. So I tell my client to, well, I will tell him how to melt it. Um, Basically, as the diagram shows, just take a bit of sprue, about, I would say 5 centimeters long, heat it up in the middle and pull it until you get a straight, long, straight, thin line. And then you just wait until that falls down, and it would make a nice antenna out of it. You cut the two end and you stick it on the right sides. And usually, how I deliver that is I put it inside the hull of the tank, and then so that I give like 5 or 6 piece of sprue sticks that they can practice with in case they mess up. And now you see that I'm sanding the parts. Now you could get away without sanding these bits, but I like to get rid of the mold lines and when you cut off the plastic, you do get a bit of excess plastic on it. Because I'm a perfectionist, so I like to clean it up, which significantly increases the amount of time, of course, that I need to build this kit. Now, some people will build a kit very quickly. Some take a long time. It just depends on the sort of quality and standard you want to do. Now, most people probably are about the same, speed in terms of reading manuals and cutting bits and pieces together. So the real difference between the time it takes to build a model is really, how much you clean up the plastic and how much effort you put in to make it perfect. Now, I decided to glue the road wheels together because they made sense actually. If I didn't glue them together, they would fall off the suspension arms. I keep forgetting the vocabulary for these things. And now you see I'm trimming the correct sized mesh net for the engine deck. And well, they do give you this piece of cloth you put on. Now with more modern kits, you just get photo etch parts that you put on, which is much easier, much nicer. So that's how you tell between a 1990s Tamiya model with a slightly newer one. Is that this one you see the mesh you have to put it on by yourself by cutting it, which is not as nice as the photo edge parts really. And I speed up everything just to make sure that you're not bored by it. And I skipped some parts, unfortunately. I forgot to actually record all of it. But next video, I'm pretty sure I will record it in much more detail. And you see that the interior of the turret is not so detailed. You do get the ammo racks and the cannon breech and everything. I decided not to paint the inside of the turret because it's a natural color of the German interior. I think is creamy white or some kind of white. But you know, nobody's gonna really look inside of this because it's got no interior. So speed up all of these bits as well. Um, Bit of details on the turret, and now here's the painting. First of all, I base coat it in black, and then I spray the dark yellow on top of it. Now, to save money with paint, I recommend buying paint in bulk. Buy all the paint that you'd possibly need for this particular build, and then buy the airbrush thinner, and then get an airbrush because honestly, airbrush saves you money in the long term. If you're looking to just build one or two odd models, then you can use spray can. But if you're looking at building models on a weekly basis or monthly, even monthly basis, I recommend a airbrush. I got mine pretty cheaply, about £100 for the whole thing. It's not loud. When I did my research, everyone was like, "You gotta get a really good one. You can't get a cheap Chinese one." But honestly, this is cheap Chinese one, not the cheapest cheap Chinese one. So, it works fine as you see. Because I'm doing it for tanks, you don't need to be very accurate with the spraying. Um, it is zero point 0.3 millimeter nozzle size and coloring in the tracks. I do the coloring of the tracks and the cables and machine gun whatsoever after I paint it, of course. Otherwise, when you spray paint it, you're gonna lose all the coloring on it anyway. So after I apply the dark yellow and red, then you apply the metallic color, and then you weather it in the end to make it more realistic. Honestly, there's a big difference between models that you weather and you don't weather as much. Now, my client likes a slightly new tank, not completely new off the factory line, but relatively new. So that means not too much weathering, not excessive, not so much rusting. So I only apply a little bit of rust. And from the local pound store, I bought these sponge sticks, which is to be honest very um, useless. I mean, you can do it without the stick, but it was in a pound shop, so I picked it up. And applying some yellow rust on the metallic part. Note that you must apply this to the metallic parts and not on the whole, otherwise it might look a bit out of place. This yellowy, orangey um, part, you definitely would want to apply on the actual cable wires or spare tracks. Machine gun doesn't get rust that much if it's a relatively new model and the crews are maintaining it. You won't see rust on that, not much. Now, if you're trying to do a diorama on a model that's been destroyed or something, you can put rust everywhere. But as of my case, the client wants a really new looking Tiger, so I added some I think chromium silver on the tires. I dip the paintbrush on some paper so it's not so wet, and then I brush on it with the chromium silver so it looks like the metal has been worn, the paint has been worn off a little bit because of friction. And then you paint the mud, a little bit mud. This is very thin mud I got from Vallejo. And that's the finished model there with the decals that the client wants. Now, if you would like to order a model from me of any build, um, I will deliver that for you if you're in Europe. Um, Now, I don't charge a lot really. I do it for a hobby, so the price wouldn't be very high. Honestly, it's highly affordable. I don't do it for a living. I do it as a hobby. So basically, I build it and I can't really keep all of the models at home, so I've got too many of them. So I just like to do it for other people, and when people appreciate that as an artwork, I feel very happy about it. So yeah, do reach out to me if you want a specific model built. And you can see the picture of the model before painting and after painting. And this one you can see the details of the weathering on the tank. It's very nice. And I put it on my diorama. Um, and obviously I removed the mud guards on it as well, just to make sure that uh, the tracks are sticking out, and it is what the client wants. So at the end of the day, whatever is requested, I deliver that. And hopefully you have enjoyed the video, and give me any feedback in the comments below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I've got an Instagram account called Military Scale Model, so check that out as well. I do daily updates on what I'm building. I try to make it very interesting. So yeah, please follow that as well, and see you next time.